Of today, top Clinton aides, friends, and donors with an eye to 2016 will descend on the Bill Clinton Presidential Library. They're celebrating its 10th anniversary, but the event also reflects the talk of the next potential Clinton campaign, another White House run by the former First Lady. Still, there's some concern that Democrats are getting ahead of themselves. During a panel discussion, former Obama advisor David Axelrod urged the former Secretary of State to, quote, get out of the cocoon of inevitability. He added, quote, I think the danger for Secretary Clinton is that, as was the case in 2007, her candidacy is out in front of the rationale for it.
John Heilman, you wrote the book on that campaign. Is that a fair statement?
Does that match?
I think it's, I think it's a fair statement in the sense that...
It's a good way of putting it.
In the sense that
it really is.
She did not have a clear rationale in 2007, other than that it was her turn and she was the inevitable candidate. That was a huge problem for her throughout 2007. She eventually found a message, but too late in the spring of 2008. And right now, I mean, a lot's being demanded of her to come up with a message very early. She's not yet a candidate, et cetera, et cetera. She still has time, but I think David's point is right in the sense that at this moment, beyond it's now her turn, it's her time, there's not a clear articulated rationale for the candidacy as yet.
Donnie, how do you get out of the cocoon of inevitability when you're up
Hillary Clinton
40% and more in these polls?
Start to develop a rationale for your candidacy that people understand.
Maybe you shouldn't have come out with a book.
Act as if you're...
How do you act like you're not if everyone assumes you are?
The whole point, but they're assuming it is. Elizabeth Warren has got to really stake out a turf because there is no assumption she is going to be the candidate. If you're Hillary Clinton, you've got to act as if. It's the same thing. You run a successful business, even when it's doing great, as if it's in trouble. And that's what you've got to do with a presidential campaign also. The great key to success in business is, even when you're on top, run it as if you're going out of business.
Run scared.
And that's what's got to happen.
Well, and ask yourself the question of if right now, if Elizabeth Warren decided tomorrow she was going to run for president, no one would have any lack of clarity about why she was running. You could explain that in 2 sentences. Right now, Hillary Clinton, you can't explain in 2 sentences beyond the fact that she's, you know,
supposed to be running.
The dominant frontrunner.
One of the famous moments, Mika, in presidential history over the past 30, 40 years was when Ted Kennedy was going to run in 1980, and everybody presumed that he was going to destroy Jimmy Carter. And he was interviewed by Roger Mudd, who he considered to be a friend, and Roger Mudd asked him the question, why do you want to be president? And it was the most pained, tortured, awkward response. He could not answer that simple question. And bluntly, his presidential campaign never really took off and never recovered. Hillary Clinton right now couldn't answer that question. If somebody got a microphone in her face and asked her, why do you want to run for president? It might be the same thing. She couldn't even promote a book this summer.
Well, that's my question.
Without falling over herself.
I'm just wondering, for someone who has such world-renowned status like Bill and Hillary Clinton, they are known internationally. Their name recognition will never go away.
Right.
If for the past 2 years she had not come out with a book, she had taken time off, kind of disappeared almost and gone into hiding, do whatever she needs to do to sort of recover from, quite frankly, serving as Secretary of State, which is a recovery process. It's exhausting, those jobs. Would she be in a weaker position to run or a stronger one when she comes out of the box?
Well, I mean, if I were in her position,
maybe work on a book that comes out later on a real issue. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if I were in her position, I would actually be glad that I went on the book tour and had as many mistakes as I had, because that would tell me, boy, I am not in mid-season form. This is not June of 2008. I'd better get ready this time. So maybe it was a disastrous preseason.
That was useful.
And that's going to be useful. Or she's just lost her game.
She was quite good on the stump for candidates this fall. But again, not quite to the point where she has a rationale for her candidacy. But she was quite good. She found her. She was very good in the.
What would she have lost by not doing anything for a while?
I think it's very hard for her, I think, to drop out of sight and go into a reclusive posture, right?
But she was campaigning, basically, in a shadow campaign form, coming out with a book. What would she have lost had she not...
Not written the book? Maybe not very much. As Joe points out, she might have learned a lot. She learned a lot from doing it, even from the mistakes she made.
Let's be honest about what her big problem is. As much as it's irrational for candidacy, part of the problem is just Obama. I mean, that you have to be. She was a part of his administration. He's been in office for 8 years. Or he will have been. Clearly, voters have soured on the guy, and if he's going to be in bad straits with the poll numbers come then, it's
her biggest problem. And John, I'd love your theory.
We got to go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You answer. You give us the answer, Donnie.
They're just tired of it. People just are ready to change.
That's what I mean. It would have been good to.
It's as simple as that. Her picture comes on.
Turn it off for a while.